Hello everyone, welcome back from lunch. A while ago I had to register my kids at the Scout platform, where you have all the different teams and so on, and then I saw there on the login page HEPL, and I thought, hey, wow, this is cool. Clicking there, and then I figured out, that's Hitobito. And then later on, I met Olivier in person, and now we have Olivier here in place. Thanks a lot. Stage is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon from my side. Thank you for attending this session after lunch. And also a big thank you for the organization about this open source culture event. My name is, already said, Olivier Brian. I'm responsible for a software developer team at Puzzle ITC. We're located in Bern, Basel, and Zurich, and do services, of course, open source services. Moreover, I'm an executive board member from CH Open, which is an association for promotion of open source software and open standard here in Switzerland. As many of you, I'm fascinated about open source software. I highlighted these advantages all the time I can, especially in business perspective. But as always, people with different cultures and backgrounds who collaborate together make an idea big. So my topics today is when cultures collaborate, for example, in the community model by Hitobito. So in the next few minutes, I would like you to take you to a journey of open source. Why and how we collaborate with our customers, but also about our feelings, what we love and what we hate sometimes about collaboration. Of course, I brought you some of my experience where we're succeeding or where we're failing in collaboration. And at the end of the presentation, I hope we have some time for question and answers. So in early stage of a project, a customer sent me a chat and asked me if he could also add issue to our public repository. And first I was a bit surprised why he asking me, but I didn't explain him what is the goal or the advantages from open source and how it works. So after a short introduction of open source, I was very happy to see his first issue on our repository. So, but before we start in detail, I would like to ask some questions for you. Normally I ask, what do you think about open source and so on? But this time, maybe it's a bit tricky. Who of you did contribute regularly? Okay, I expect everybody, but... And who contribute to third-party software, not their own code base? More than before. And my third question for my little survey, who get paid for that? Less, as I expected. Good, thank you. So go on, let's start. What does these two symbols mean? Roger already said it's Japanese, and one symbol of that means human or person. And if we put two together, it means people or together or everyone. So moreover, it's also an open source solution to manage people and organization. We started 11 years ago with a customer. It wasn't the Scouts, it wasn't Jungwach Blau Ring, who came up with the idea to organize camps, events, education. And then we thought, it's not only about events, it's also about people. So we started together this journey, and from the first line of code, we could also open source everything we have done, like documentation, source code, but also all about the software. So hard to impress. It could look like that, so that you have a feeling how it could look like. It is a web application to manage also the children from Roger. Yeah, our Hitobito vision is to build the most versatile, I always struggle with this word, community management solution. And the goal is the software to manage complex and also federated organization. As you can expect in Switzerland, it's complex. Bern and Switzerland are both cantons, but they're huge different. We don't talk about Zug. They're also maybe different. But we also manage associations like CH Open and political parties and even more complex organization. And we have a community-driven approach to do this and build together this open source software. I will further go on in details about community-driven approach. And of course, you will find us on GitHub. We're based on GitHub. You find there the code. So much for marketing. Now go to detail. Why we collaborate? Maybe for me, it's not a question whether we want. I see it more like we must to collaborate. Open source makes it easy to build communities so everyone can engage. Our clients are used to collaborate, in particular maybe outside IT technology. So why not use software together to build something great? Of course, sharing costs. As you know, software is expensive, but some costs can be easy shared within a community. Innovative. Not only software can be built in the community. Also, ideas can be shared. One strategy to improve is cross-functional collaboration. Encourage close collaboration between teams, with different teams, and involve stakeholders directly. Also independent. Maybe trust is good, control may be better. With open source, you have the possibility to reduce vendor locking. It is not by default, but if you care, it's possible to reduce the dependency from a single source. Even more, with open source enables you to control the software and therefore also the data. To raise the quality, be open for feedback and pull requests, so nobody's perfect in coding or do work. And together we can combine the knowledge and the skills. And last but not least, working together is more fun and create purpose, as we hope we'll see today and tomorrow. So, or at least you are too small and too slow to do all the work on yourself. So how we collaborate? Trust me, it's not that easy. Our Hitobito community has players with different expectations. Some use Hitobito just as a daily tool. They are not involved in the community at all. They just expect Hitobito to work as it should, with no bugs, no errors. Others use Hitobito as a core tool in their daily work. They're immensely involved in the community. And they connect third-party application with our application, and they act as a power user in their organization. Others use the benefits of open source, so they inspect our code carefully, and they also react on GitHub issues and give us feedback. Once a year, we organize a Hitobito hackathon to encourage the community to contribute. We enable new coders and give tips and tricks from our developers. And also, we are open for no-code contributions. For example, documentations or conceptual work that have to be done. Last but not least, as always, also money plays a role in the community. The budgets differ immensely. So how bring the requirements in the community together? Starting with the customer, he has a brilliant idea, as you can show here. For this presentation, I just simplifies a bit. So it's a round idea, and that is clear for the customer. That is what he needed, and they have a crescent shape extension that would be nice to have. As always, the budget is limited from the customer. Nevertheless, for once, we have a customer with more or less a very clear idea. As we go on in the community, there are a lot of more brilliant idea comes up. As you know, each customer here is very unique and has his specific requirements. But we are looking for the same round idea from the first customer as in his mind, looking for overlapping requirements in the community. As we found the common ground, we can develop together with the community and share costs. So our architecture helps us to satisfy the customer's needs. We call it individual community solutions. Maybe it sounds like an objection, but the software architecture of Hitobito is built with a common core on the bottom. This covers the general functions and attributes. The core is used in every customer's software. The architecture allows us to add plugins. We call them wagons because the solution is built in Ruby on Rails. These wagons can extend the core functions with specific features, custom definitions, explicit structure roles, permission, etc. Wagons allow us also to add, remove, or adapt functions for the customers. With this architecture, we are able to satisfy the customer's independence needs with a community solutions. We built a specific app on a common ground. As a result, we end up with an individual software solution per customer. Not only the design, as you can see here, is different, but also the functionality depends on the customer needs. As always, to collaborate is a balancing act of pros and contras. Sometimes collaboration is big fun, sometimes we just struggle. So first, what we love to do. Or maybe what our customer loves to do. Of course, we need solution with which solve my problem, or in my case, the problem of the customers. We all love fancy new features, and we like to impress our stakeholders. Summarized, all the easy things that make us happy. On the other hand, there's a lot more to do. Or maybe things we don't like much to do, or at least our customer refuse to spend money for. Bug fixing and maintenance work bring in short time not a huge benefit. But as you all know, a sustainable perspective is absolutely key. So we love to automate recurring jobs, even they recur just once. So in my personal experience, it's hard, or at least hard to sell long-term and for the customer invisible features. So that brings us to the business model with open source. We can easily create values with things we love, as I mentioned before. Next, we can offer services like software integration, services, customization, support, training, hosting, etc. Customer will appreciate it and pay it for. All the skill-based values can create values for the customer. But there are also challenges. All the values we struggle with. Open source is free available, so why should the customer pay us for using it? Or when it is community-driven, as I mentioned, So why he should pay for fixing a bug and not wait until someone else maybe fix it? So the question arises, how will open source software development be financed in the long term? So I brought like an open source business model. For example, for a typical business model from a software company works with open source. So the key activities like software development, offer solutions and trainings, act consulting, or offer subscriptions are more or less the same. Cost structures are common. There are cost staff, direct staffs, operations, nothing special. But in the revenue stream, you see it in red, there is no recurring license revenues. This is missing. We have like initial project, customer extensions, also consulting, maintenance, support contracts. So how could open source development financed in a long-term perspective? Of course, subscriptions, and what we offer for our customers in our service level agreements with operations, and we have like maintenance contracts. Exactly. With these maintenance contracts, we offer direct contact to core developers and regular security updates. So to ensure that mission-critical software will also be available tomorrow. Or, on the other hand, code is available, so you can use code, sweat, and tears to make sure your software is still alive tomorrow. So our common goal should be that no one should be fired for buying open source software. Succeeding or failing in collaboration. I brought you like 3 challenges I'm facing. So the timing aspect. The customer has different time dependencies. Stakeholders influence the project and have their own roadmap. So it's important to synchronize as early as you can in the community to figure out about timing. Financing, I mentioned before, there are multiple options we figure out to finance the next big things. So maybe everyone can just pay as much they can and let the community decide who pay how much for the next feature. But make sure you have a good decision-making process. Another way is to share the cost by a well-established distribution keys between the players in the community. And third way we already tried out is to use crowdfunding. This allows also parties outside the community to helping finance the next big things. Maybe people you didn't know already that they use this open source solution. Also bring the requirements together. We use the community to sharp the ideas or to sharp the requirements by themselves. So looking for a common ground where we can meet. So then when it comes to development, we first experiment and in a customer-specific wagon, and we start with an MVP to figure out does this function work or not. Later, with the next interest client, we are able to extend it to a full feature to the community. So in my last slide, I have 2 takeaways or maybe homework for you that you can take. So the first is to figure out on which open source software is your business model or your software based on or depending on. And the second question is, how do you ensure that application management of this little important part is managed and this little piece is in a good condition? So I'm open for questions or comments about my thoughts.
I have a first question. How many maintainers do you have, and from how many different organizations are they from?
Actually, we are from Puzzle the main maintainer. We have some contribution from outside, but unfortunately, we are the main maintainer, so we have this kind of vendor lock-in, but we are open. We already started with different companies if they would be willing to also be a maintainer. But unfortunately, at the moment, we're just us, so core maintainer.
And how many people are working on the project?
Yeah, we are a fixed team, about 5 persons with different, with other projects, but we have a fixed team with, I would say, 5 people.
Cool. Was there?
Hello. Thanks for the presentation. From the perspective of like you guys are trying to justify like how much time you have to invest in this, and then with the customers that are using this, do they not see a sense of urgency around the risk that if it's somehow you don't have a commercial relationship with the users, that it becomes unmaintained, and then the adoption of the actual project itself, of the open source project, becomes less attractive because it looks less maintained and there's like hundreds of open issues and things like this. Do they not attach a sense of value they're getting from this and say, okay, we should drop a few hundred or 50 a month and support these guys?
I would say it depends on the customers. As I mentioned, some are really in this community. They know that we are on GitHub. They know how many issues are open. Or they use Hitobito just as a service, and they didn't go in detail what is about this application. And further on, I also see people, they care about application management. They care about what kind of software they based on. And other, in my perspective, my personal perspective, they care too less about this.
Okay. And is there like a timeline you're working against where it needs to reach a critical mass of some sort of, source of funding before, okay, we're at a loss here, we're investing a lot of time on this, and no one else is picking up other issues that, could equally support it? Kind of like you have here Siemens committing a lot into GitLab, and it's a balanced work. Is there a timeline you're working against or anything?
Yeah, we have like a roadmap, but also this roadmap is community-driven, because our thoughts is about that the community, the users who use the software, are the best to think about what's next, what we need, where we should go with that solution. We do a great job in a technical way. My team knows exactly where we could fix and improve and the technical stuff, but in user perspective, I'm sure we didn't know exactly what is needed. And yeah, did I answer that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. But also, yeah, if we figure out like new topic, we have like we integrated MailChimp, and don't care. And the community react and say, yeah, maybe we should get away from MailChimp. Do you have any other integration to European or Switzerland mail delivery systems? We haven't yet, but we've seen the communities rising, and so we try to get the community together to organize a community event and decide together what is next, what we do with our legacy MailChimp, what we do next, which are good players we want to get in the communities.
And there was contribution and funding for that?
Yeah, we try to collect the contributions, so we have an estimation what is the effort we will need. In this special case, we haven't found it yet, so we couldn't build it yet. But yeah, September will be here soon.
Thanks.
As I understood from your talk, you are mostly talking about your customers as companies. How easy is it for you to come into public services or state-financed things like universities or schools, or what is maybe the percentage of these government-financed organizations among your customers?
You mean that they use the tool, or we just get funded?
Is it easy for you to offer your solutions in schools and universities? Do you have such customers at all?
No, we haven't. It's not on the main perspective. They have like different functions like classes and Benotung and all the stuff we haven't yet in our solution. So we focus on associations and political organizations. We have some, but schools and university we haven't. There are other open source solutions like Moodle or so they use, and they're exactly built for education.
Thank you.
I have another question. I really like that Wagon concept to extend. Would love to see that also in other Ruby on Rails applications. What's the amount, percentage-wise, of core versus customer extensions typically?
Yeah, it depends on the customer. Good answer all the time. It depends. We do all the customer stuff in the Wagon, of course, how they structure permission and so on. And as less feature we have in the custom Wagon, as more we have in the core. So we try, it's always a balancing act if you build a new feature in the core, because if you build it in the core, everyone have it and has to deal with it, found new bugs. So in percentage, I would say, I guess, don't get me on that, it's about 10% of code that is in the Wagon normally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. We try to minimize it, only specialty. For example, we have a Schweizer Blasmusikverband. It's called wind band in English. They have a very special thing about Suiza. They make like final stuff with Suiza government organization who are looking that the producer of music get paid, something like that. So that's very special, and a lot of code that we have in the Wagon of wind band, but others, they just have the structures, so the code will be short.
Cool. And the number of members within the largest installation?
Yeah, it's about 100,000 person. Cool. Yes. We don't have exact statistic. I just take the number they gave us. So it's free and open source software, so we don't limit it by how many users or how many. So we just need what we need for running this system.
Cool. Further questions? Okay, then thank you very much, Olivier.
Thank you.